Gavin Newsom provides, I think, such a lack of leadership there in so many ways, and it was highlighted by the disaster with the fires. It's so heartbreaking that California citizens are suffering because of the lack of state and local leadership on this.
I don't know what he's referring to when he talks about the Delta smelt in reservoirs. The reservoirs are completely full, the state reservoirs here in Southern California. That mis and disinformation, I don't think advantages or aids any of us.
We do know, though, from reporting here locally that one reservoir that serves the Palisades was not full.
And that's exactly what triggered my desire to get the investigation to understand what was happening.
Breaking news. Speaker Johnson just unleashed a fiery response aimed straight at Gavin Newsom. This wasn't your typical political swipe, it was full throttle. Johnson didn't hold back, delivering a sharp and impassioned message that turned heads. Something clearly struck a nerve, and his reaction was anything but subtle.
Forest well, they did not manage the water well, and everyone knew for decades that the eventuality that we've seen over the last couple of weeks here since the fire disasters began was foreseeable. They assumed the risk because of their crazy.
If he is to invest in crime suppression, I hope the President of the United States would look at the facts. Just consider Speaker Johnson's state and district. Just look at the murder rate. That's nearly 4 times higher.
If you're enjoying the content, please consider subscribing. It truly makes a difference. Tensions had been quietly building beneath the surface for a while. On one side stood Gavin Newsom, often seen as a rising star in progressive politics, polished and media-ready. On the other side was Speaker Mike Johnson, visibly reaching the limits of his patience. Their political clash felt inevitable, like two forces on a collision course. Both men bring strong personalities to the table, and when they finally clashed, it was anything but subtle.
The president said, possibly in jest, that if he were Tom Homan, he would arrest Gavin Newsom. You believe that Newsom could face consequences in a legal way?
That's not my lane. I'm not going to give you legal analysis on whether Gavin Newsom should be arrested, but he ought to be tarred and feathered. I'll say that. I mean, look, he's standing in the way of the administration and the carrying out of.
It was only a matter of time before the two clashed, not in the spirit of a historic debate, but more like a political spectacle. Newsom was out front, doing what he's known for, painting California as an ideal state, even as critics argue otherwise. With his polished appearance, confident smile, and sharp remarks about Washington, he delivered yet another performance that drew attention and plenty of response.
He is applauding the bad guys and standing in the way of the good guys. He is trying to. He's a participant, an accomplice in our federal law enforcement agents being not just disrespected, but assaulted. This is a serious problem, and the governor is now filing a lawsuit against the president. What a joke. Do your job, man. That's what I tell Gavin Newsom. Do your job. Stop working on your rebranding and be a governor.
This time, he took a swipe at Congress, throwing out polished, well-rehearsed lines about disconnected leadership. It carried that trademark confidence he's known for. He wasn't just offering critique. He was tempting a reaction, like taunting a bear while waving food in its face.
Speaker Johnson, 4x higher. I'm just offering, again, you've not seen this on Fox News, so President may not be familiar with these facts. So I want to present some facts to the President of the United States, and imagine this is alarming to the President to learn these facts, particularly Speaker Johnson, who's been such a strong partner and ally in these efforts. So the carnage in Louisiana is well defined. Of course, Mississippi leads the nation as the #1 murder state in America. Imagine this in particular may resonate with the President of the United States.
And then Johnson finally let loose. After months of measured silence, he made it clear the gloves were off. His response wasn't restrained or carefully worded. It was raw, fiery, and impossible to ignore. It stopped people mid-scroll, leaving them wondering, did he really just say that? What followed was less a speech and more a takedown. Johnson didn't hold back, calling out California's struggles, crime rates, homelessness, and the mass exodus of businesses as clear signs of failed leadership. He wasn't interested in being polite. He came out swinging, turning Newsom into a target of blistering criticism. And while the facts were real, the delivery packed the emotional punch of someone who's had enough. But beneath the statistics and sharp lines, it was about more than policy. It was about ego, frustration, and a leader who's tired of being dismissed by someone representing a state that, despite its promises, still deals with rolling blackouts in 2025.
How about it? Again, Gavin Newsom will do anything for attention. He can name drop me all he wants. He needs to go and govern his state and not be engaging in all of this. Look, we have crime in cities all across America, and we're against that everywhere, and we need to bring...
This was more than a policy disagreement. It was a clash of personas. The polished West Coast governor with national ambitions versus the Southern speaker, who'd had enough of the smugness. Johnson's fiery response wasn't just about fixing issues. It was a call-out, essentially saying, stop acting like the nation's savior when your own state is struggling. The reaction was immediate. Clips of his remarks flooded social media, catching fire almost instantly. California supporters rushed to defend Newsom with familiar lines. Every state has issues. It's not as bad as critics claim. And the ever-present "at least we're not Mississippi" argument, often used, though not always as strong a defense as intended. Meanwhile, Newsom's response was calm, controlled, and delivered with the ease of someone used to the spotlight. If Johnson erupted like a volcano, Newsom countered with ice, offering a composed rebuttal that, while measured, felt just a little too perfect to be entirely off the cuff.
I'm incredibly proud of the president for activating the National Guard and for sending in these Marines, because these Marines are specifically trained to meet the need that we have on the ground in LA right now. And Governor Newsom has done a disservice to the state of California for many years. The people there should never elect him into a leadership position ever.
Newsom knows how to deflect criticism with ease, brushing it off like lint from a tailored suit. He often gains strength from being targeted, using it to reinforce his image as a progressive fighter standing firm against conservative attacks. So when Johnson lost his cool, it gave Newsom a perfect chance to appear calm and collected, and he seized it. But this exchange wasn't just a heated moment between California and Congress. It hinted at something bigger: the future of national politics. Both men are quietly positioning themselves on the broader political stage. Newsom has long danced around presidential aspirations, never confirming but never denying. This clash felt like a preview of the 2028 election. Johnson rallying crowds with images of urban decay, questioning California's leadership, while Newsom counters by branding Johnson as stuck in the past, unable to embrace progress. It's shaping up as a red versus blue, coastal versus heartland showdown.
Law. He's not doing that. So I don't know what the ultimate measure will be there, but I know that in the interim time, the President of the United States is showing real leadership, and we're not going to allow LA to burn. We've seen this movie before, right? This thing gets out of hand real quickly, especially in a big city like that. And if local and state officials are unwilling or unable to do their job, the President of the United States will do his, and we support that fully.
Amid all the drama, regular Americans are left watching like it's political theater, snacking on popcorn, shaking their heads, and wondering if this is what serious leadership has come to. On the surface, it's almost comical, two powerful figures clashing like rival-class presidents. But underneath the spectacle lies something more serious. These viral moments shape public perception, fuel division, and become lasting soundbites. Johnson's fiery outburst may have been dramatic, but it struck a chord with many Americans who view California not as a model, but a warning sign. Meanwhile, Newsom's composed response, though calculated, reinforced his image as the cool-headed, media-savvy leader. The contrast is striking. Johnson like the outspoken uncle at Thanksgiving who finally snaps about the dry turkey, while Newsom plays the calm cousin, sipping wine, letting the outburst speak for itself. In the end, it's about narrative, and both men know exactly how to play theirs.
The president said today that Gavin Newsom, in his view, should be arrested. Are you comfortable with the president saying something like that?
Well, I was busy all day today, and I heard that for the first time sitting next to the president when they asked him that question at the White House. I don't know what all that involves, but he gave comment there, and I'll stick by what he said.
As a constitutional lawyer, you always talk about the Constitution. Do you think that we are within the realm of the Constitution, sending in military troops onto U.S. soil when there are local law enforcement to deal with this issue?
Well, I'm told that the chief of police in Los Angeles made some comments suggesting that he was thankful that they had backup because it could have gotten far out of control. We've seen that in the past in Los Angeles and other.
And then there's the irony. Johnson taking aim at California while representing a federal government that can't even pass a budget on time. It's like someone deep in debt mocking another's credit score. The truth is, both sides have problems, both are messy, but in today's political arena, volume often wins over substance. Johnson pointed fingers loudly and with both hands, and it got attention. Since then, pundits have been debating nonstop. Was this Johnson's breaking point? Newsom's moment to rise above? Or just another viral exchange in a long line of political spats? Depends who you ask. Both men walked away with something. For the rest of us, it was theater, because that's what politics has largely become. Policy takes a backseat to performance. Johnson exploded, Newsom stayed cool, and the audience responded with laughs, debates, and memes. Everyone got their moment, even if nothing meaningful actually changed. And maybe that's the real punchline.
House Speaker Mike Johnson amid the continuing demonstrations in Los Angeles, which includes a back and forth between President Donald Trump and California Governor Gavin Newsom.
And they have a long history of liking each other a lot. Yes, that is sarcasm. ABC's Stephen Portnoy is watching it all play out and joins us now. Stephen, based on what we heard in the speaker's own voice, I mean, that's a pretty clear statement. Is it correct?
Well, look, I mean, the House Speaker is talking about tarring and feathering the governor of California. The question is whether he's speaking literally or figuratively. You might think figuratively, but Gavin Newsom seemed to be taking it literally, saying that, earlier this week there was this conversation about whether the president would order the arrest of California.
The most striking part of this whole episode is how quickly it shifted from a debate on policy to a spectacle of optics. Johnson didn't just offer criticism. He delivered what felt like a stand-up routine dressed up as political commentary. If you closed your eyes, you might have thought you were at a comedy club open mic. But instead of jokes about bad dates, he was roasting California like it had personally offended him. He laid into homelessness figures like he was presenting a brutal PowerPoint. He tore apart the cost of living with the intensity of someone trying to convince people to flee to the Midwest. His portrayal of California sounded like a dystopian postcard. Sky-high rents for shoebox apartments and crime rates straight out of a comic book. Subtle? Not at all. Measured? Definitely not. It was the political equivalent of smashing a guitar on stage, and the audience went wild. Conservatives, tired of California being held up as a model, felt validated. To them, Johnson wasn't overreacting. He was finally saying what they'd been shouting at their TVs. But here's the twist. For every person who saw a truth teller, another saw a man unraveling. One side's champion is another side's cautionary tale.
I have nothing but the clothes I left with my dogs. So, yeah.
What do you think about how the governor, local officials, etc., elected officials have handled this crisis?
I was so angry and so hurt to find out that Gavin Newsom cut the fire department budget, the firefighting budget, by $100 million. And then Karen Bass cut the city budget by $17 million. And she didn't even have the decency to be in California when we're burning up. These people are reprehensible. And I can't wait till we get them out of office. And I am so looking forward to Trump getting in, because I think people will be hired based on...
Newsom's supporters were quick to portray Johnson as less of a leader and more like someone losing his temper waiting in a long DMV line. They saw his outburst as a sign of weakness, arguing that as Speaker of the House, he should maintain composure rather than launch verbal attacks at every provocation. Meanwhile, Newsom himself re-entered the spotlight with the confidence of a cat who just knocked over a vase, but acts like it was intentional. His response was calm, measured, and clearly rehearsed, almost making Johnson's fiery rant seem like free publicity. Newsom played the long game, projecting the image of the steady adult in the room, the kind of poise expected from a presidential hopeful. Both approaches resonated with their respective bases, but to many outside observers, it looked like a scene from a bad sitcom. One character yelling while the other calmly sips coffee, smirking. The media devoured the drama. Some outlets labeled Johnson's outburst a national crisis. Others praised it as bold political courage. Headlines couldn't agree if it was a meltdown, a masterclass, or just a viral meme, but all agreed on one thing. It was undeniably entertaining.
The state of California responds to and fights back against the blatant political power grab in Texas with its own redistricting effort. That state's Governor Gavin Newsom is fighting for a different kind of power in today's political landscape. Attention. Newsom's press office for the past week and a half has been flooding the zone by flooding social media posts with posts that mimic Donald Trump's style and doing what no Democrat has tried for the last 9 years in dealing with Donald Trump, beating Donald Trump at his own game.
In today's politics, entertainment is half the game. What we witnessed wasn't just a rant, it was a collision of two leadership styles. Johnson's approach, loud, angry, impossible to ignore. Newsom's style, calm, polished, letting his opponent appear unhinged. Both played their roles perfectly, making their points clear. This clash revealed the kind of political theater we can expect leading into 2028. And let's be honest, this wasn't the finale. It was just the teaser, a glimpse of the battles and performances yet to come on the national stage.